So looking at variation functions are actually pretty basic mathematically. It just describes different relationships between kind of types of numbers and stuff like that. So when things vary directly, there's two ways you can think of it. You can either think that y equals just some constant number times x, or that like y over x equals a constant. Either one, it's really, if you notice, the same exact equation, just solved a different way. This is the type of equation you have when you're talking about like proportions, okay, because that proportion is a constant ratio. Joint variation just means that you have multiple things times, so like y equals k times x times z, okay, or again, you could solve that for k if you wanted to. So they give you enough information in these problems to figure out your constant k, that's the first thing you have to do, and then once you know that, you can use that to find whatever the missing letter is for the other one. So looking down here, I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple examples. Y varies directly as x tells you that you know y equals some constant times x. That's just your direct variation equation. And then they give you 2 points that you know. You know that y is 9 when x is 6. Use that to help you figure out what k is. So if you solve for k here and you reduced, you get k equals 3 over 2. Once you know that, use your new equation, y equals 3 over 2x, to figure out what y is when x is 8, or whatever the other number they give you. So that gives me y equals 3 over 2 times 8. If you simplify that, y equals 12. Okay, the same thing on the next equation. It's going to work the exact same way. So again, you know if it says directly y equals k times x, y is 16, x is 36. Again, if you divide those and simplify, you're going to have 16 over 36, which is both divisible by 4, so 4 over 9. K equals 4 over 9. Again, use that to figure out your other one. Y equals 4 over 9. I'm going to take a shortcut and go ahead and say that x is 54. Well, 9 goes into 54 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. Same thing here. Y equals k times x. X is 15 when y is 5. K equals 1/3. So y equals 1/3 times x. Notice this time they gave you y. So that's 9 equals 1/3 times x. What is x going to equal? How do you solve that? Remember, you multiply by the reciprocal. So x is going to equal 27. Same thing on the next one. Y equals k times x. So 22 equals k times 33. When you divide that, that gives you k equals 2/3. Again, they've given you y this time. So 32 equals 2/3 times x. How are you going to solve that? Multiply by the reciprocal. So 32 times 3 and divided by 2, I'm cheating just a little, is 48. I should have known that. It's pretty much the same thing when you have joint variation. You do need to kind of pay attention to your letters a little bit here. I think on maybe your homework or on your quiz or something like that, they switch up the letters. Whichever one it says varies is the like that equals. So when it says y varies, that means y equals, and then jointly means k times the x times the z. Okay. Other than that, you work this the exact same way, except they have it worded in a little different order. If you noticed earlier, they gave you everything you needed to find k, and then told you what to find. Here, for some reason, they tell you to find y when, if. So this is the stuff I'm going to use first to figure out what k is. So y is 18, x is 3, z is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. If I divide 6 to the other side, that gives me k is 3. Once I know k, I can use it to find y. This is y equals k times the other x and the other z. Okay, so 5 times 3 is going to be 9 times 5, or 45. Okay. Same thing on the next one. So jointly, again, if y is 6, when I'm looking for k, x is 4, and z is 2. So that's 8, 6 divided by 8, k equals 3/4. So again, find y when k is 3/4, x is 6, and z is 8. So that's going to be 18 times 2, or 36, if you simplified. Coming down here, kind of same thing again, find y when this is actually no different, so I don't even think I'm going to do that one. Same thing here. So, skipping to the back, that's pretty easy. Direct and joint. On the back you have inverse and combined. So inverse is pretty much the opposite of direct, where y equals some constant divided by x, or where x times y equals a constant. So it's two different ways to talk about it. Again, that's the same equation, just solved a different way. When you have combined variation, it will specifically tell you, like jointly with and inversely with. But usually your equation is going to look something like this, okay, or solved the other way. So again, you're going to do the same thing to figure this out. So if y varies inversely as x, that means y equals some constant divided by x. And then it gives you 2 points, just like the last one. Y is 12 when x is 10. How do you figure out k? Well, you're going to multiply by the 10 and get that k is 120. After you know that, you can figure out y when x is 15. So that's 120 divided by 15. Or, I knew that too, that's 8. Y equals 8. Okay. Exact same thing. This next one, no different at all. Y varies inversely. So then y is 100 when x is 38. So if you multiply that over, k equals 3,800. What a big K. Again, you're looking for y when x is 76, so 3,800 divided by 76. I don't feel bad about using my calculator on that one. Is 50. Maybe I do feel a little bad about using my calculator on that one. So same thing in the next one, except it just changes a little. No, it doesn't change at all. No, it still doesn't change at all. So that's okay. I'll go ahead and do it. Y equals constant divided by x. Y is 32. X is 42. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. 32 times 42 is k equals 1344. Okay. Just for kicks and to change this up, because I know this happens on your homework, let's pretend like this says find x when y is 24. Okay, so I know that's not what it really says, but now it does because I just scribbled it out. So when you're looking for the x value, you kind of have to do things a little bit different. So this would be 24 equals this 1344 divided by x. Now, how are you going to solve that type of equation? You can do a couple things. You can put the 24 over 1 and kind of make it into a proportion type thing. I like to just multiply by the x to get it out of the denominator. So then it's going to be 24x equals 1344. Then you have to divide by the 24 to figure out what x is. So that divided by 24 is 56. So, I mean, it's still really the same thing. You can also go back up to this other property that x times y equals k. That'll save you a little bit of time when you're looking for x. But either way. Okay. Last one is when we're talking about this combined. So like I said, it tells you exactly what to do. You just have to read your equation. And again, pay attention to the letters. If it says y varies, that means y equals. Directly with z means you have k times z. Inversely with x means divided by x. So they wrote, again, that's the same equation that's at the top of the paper, but sometimes they'll give you these letters in different orders or say different things, so just be sure you read your question. So again, they give you enough stuff to figure out k to start with. So that's 16 equals k times 2 divided by 42. A couple different ways you can do this. You could simplify that first. I would just do it in 2 steps. I would say, well, 16 times 42 is 672. That divided by 2 would give me k equals 336. Once you know k, you use that in your other points to figure out y. Y equals 336 times z divided by x. So that times 8 divided by 14, y equals 192. And one more just for kicks. Again, same equation. So 23 equals k times 1 divided by 12. So that's going to be 23 times 12, technically divided by 1, but k is going to equal 276. Again, once you know that, y equals 276 times z is negative 3 divided by 15. Again, I could just plug all that in my calculator. Times negative 3. I could also reduce first, but whatever you want to do. This one's actually a decimal, so you can either leave it as y equals negative 55.2, or you could just reduce the fraction, negative 276 divided by 5. I would take either one of those.